two of America's labor unions just decided to buck the two-party system. Now, this is according to an article written by John Wachzik and Mark Greinbergst. I'm sorry that I probably butchered your name, guys, but it's a great article. Now, according to them, the AFL-CIO, it's one of the biggest unions, passed a political resolution at the end of October that calls for, quote, a break with the lesser of two evil politics. So you guys who are for the People's Party, you're going to love this article. He said the time has passed. The resolution says the time has passed when we can passively settle for the lesser of two evils, reads the main political resolution. Lee Saunders, chair of the AFL-CIO's political committee and president of the AFSCME, and Randi Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, introduced the resolution. Now, these people are leading two of the largest unions. So that's very, very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about Randi Weingarten for a second, right? So head of the teachers union. Now, if you recall, back during the election, during the primary, they were a big Hillary Clinton supporter, right? His union, without the approval of its membership, by the way, just with the board, and we saw this with quite a few large, important unions, the boards, the unelected boards, would go and just say, okay, we don't care what our members think, we're going to endorse Hillary Clinton. When you ask the membership, however, a lot of them were like, no, we're in favor of Bernie Sanders. We do not agree with the board of our union. So that's very important, right? Now you have this guy. Now you have Randi Weingarten saying, hey, you know what? Maybe this lesser of two evils thing that I previously bought into, maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe it doesn't really work after all. That right there is an interesting evolution, if it is an evolution, but you know what? I'll take it. So here's where it gets really interesting. Now, convention managers also yoked the resolution to another measure it also approved, discussing a Labor Party, a new political party based on labor. Wow. Weingarten said, for decades, the political system has failed working people. Acting on behalf of corporations and the rich and the powerful, the political system has been taking away, one after another, the pillars that support working people's right to good jobs and secure benefits. The two measures, adopted October 24th, follow a late Monday evening meetings of supporters of reviving the Labor Party idea, which attracted about 50 delegates to an upstairs meeting room at the convention's lead hotel. Their contention, both the Democrats and Republicans are under total corporate domination. Holy hell. That is some strong language there. They're not mincing words, and they're absolutely right. Right now, both parties depend too much on corporate money to function. Our politicians spend about 4 to 6 hours a day begging for campaign donations from rich people and corporations. That is not the kind of system that we should live in. These people and these corporations and these businessmen set up super PACs and dark money groups so they can funnel legal bribes from multinational corporations into political campaigns. Now, nobody gives to a political campaign unless they're going to get something back out of it, unless they're going to get their return on investment. And that's what it's all about. And so because of that, neither party is interested in unions. It's interested in labor rights. Well, they can't go with the labor rights because they've got their corporate donors, and their corporate donors hate unions. They're like, no. If we have strong unions, we can't crush our workers. That's what this is about. Now, I remember a time, or at least I remember reading about a time, where Republicans actually used to believe in unions. And until more recently, so did the Democrats. However, and I think part of the reason that they did lip service, at least to the Democrats, is that the unions do fund Democrats. However, unions don't fund Democrats nearly as much as the corporations now do. So that's why the Democrats are unfortunately under corporate control. So these unions, they notice that. They know they're not being represented. For example, President Obama said, you know what, I'm going to put on my walking shoes, and I'm going to walk the picket lines if they try to do right to work. Well, what happened? They did right to work in Wisconsin. He wasn't there. They did right to work in Michigan. President Obama wasn't there. The Democrats, they weren't there. There were a few prominent Democrats that did join the picket lines. Bernie Sanders, for example, even though that technically he's not a Democrat, but he caucuses with them and is an actual progressive. But as far as other Democrats have gone, no. They're not interested in unions. They're not interested in labor rights. So these unions, now that they know that the Democrats are not on their side, they're packing it up and they're looking at creating a brand new party that actually represents workers. And that's amazing. Now, the prime mover, according to the article, of a Labor Party motion at the convention, Postal Workers President Mark Dimenstein, has been calling for such a new formation since the passage of NAFTA in 1993. So this guy, as soon as NAFTA passed, he's like, Ralph Nader was right. There's going to be a giant sucking sound. The Democrats pushed us through. Well, the Democrats are no longer on our side. We were against this because guess what? This is going to lead to an outsourcing of a lot of American jobs down to Mexico. And what happened? That's exactly what happened. These American jobs went to Mexico where there is cheaper labor costs. That's partly thanks to NAFTA. So when that happened, of course, Dimenstein is like, no, we're out of here. Like, I'm not gonna back a party that doesn't back us. I would like to create a new labor party, which he said showed because he said that Democrats and Republicans were now in the pockets of the corporate class. And that's, of course, thanks to Bill Clinton and the DLC Democrats. So he got into office and he was like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make the Democrats more centrist, i.e. more corporatist. We're going to go and take all that corporate money and we're going to deregulate industry and we're not going to help the unions. That's what he did. Now, Dimenstein made many of the same arguments for a Labor Party in the convention floor that he voiced in the meeting the night before. When Baldemar Vasquez of the Farm Labor Organizing Committee and Mark Dudzik of Labor Committees for Single Payer and Donna DeWitt, former president of South Carolina AFL-CIO, joined him. So he's got a lot of big names in organized labor. Now, meeting participants differed over whether the nascent party should first build an organization and concentrate on issues or immediately jump into political races, running the risk of becoming spoilers in the current political system, rigged in favor of the two existing parties. Now, for me, like if you ask me, I would say go for organization and issues. You're not going to be able to take on the establishment unless you have a good organization behind you. I don't care about being a spoiler. I mean, if you think about it, Bernie Sanders was in the Democratic Party. He joined the Democratic Party to run in 2016. He was still considered a spoiler. No matter what, if you run against the establishment-favored candidate, you will always be considered a spoiler. That's just how they think. So if you run against the system, you're not going to be able to avoid that charge. So again, I say concentrate on the issues. Develop a real working people's platform and then build that money base from small donations, get yourself out there and then start running and challenging corporate politicians. And if you do that, who knows, you might at least force a candidate who is part of the establishment to start to tack left on some issues. And that would be great because that's what you want to do is you want to force these politicians to start going left. And if you win, that's even better. Now, in addition to this, there was another meeting with Our Revolution. Now, that's, of course, the Saunders group that's pushing for electing more progressive candidates. Now, the unions called that meeting with Our Revolution were the Amalgamated Transit Union, the American Postal Workers Union, the Brotherhood of Maintenance Way Employees, and the Communications Workers for America, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, National Nurses United, and the United Electrical Workers, and they were joined by the Massachusetts and South Carolina AFL-CIOs. So let me just point out the nurses union, right? So in any labor movement or protest, we have seen the nurses union because they're awesome. And I want to point out just how much I love the nurses union. I mean, again, these were the biggest backers of Bernie Sanders. And the leader, Roseanne DeMauro, of course, she's absolutely amazing. So, as well as the rest of the nurses. These people, they heal people in real life, but they also want to heal the government. And I think that's amazing. And I just love them. Now, continuing, okay. So I know, look, some of you that are watching might despise unions. That's because, of course, there's been a pretty successful campaign against them by the far right and the corporate Democrats. They don't like unions, and they've tried to convince a lot of Americans that unions are just bad, which sucks. So, I mean, and look, they do point out some excesses. I mean, there are some unions that I disagree with. There were ones that were pushing the Keystone XL pipeline, of course. I didn't agree with that. There were some that were pushing the other pipeline, Standing Rock. Didn't agree with them either. And then there's the police union, which is big on excess. But nonetheless, I do believe in unions, and I don't believe that they should be eliminated like what the right wing is trying to actually do. We need strong unions more than ever in order to fight the corporate control of the workplace and actually give workers a voice. And look, should we clamp down on excesses? Of course, of course. But the reality is that they're not nearly as powerful as they used to be. Actually, their power has completely diminished. And all you need to do is just look at the decline of unions. Union membership is down, union power is down, union donations are down. Union membership is not what it used to be. And I think a lot of it is because of these union busting laws and the fact that some people will point to certain cases of excess or, oh, this employee is lazy and they didn't get fired, therefore all unions are bad because the union happens to be protecting that one person. Well, that doesn't... Those bad things do not take away the good that the unions actually have done for America. I mean, since the unions have been busted, have been losing power, the middle class has been losing income. Wages have been stagnant. Benefits are no longer there. They're non-existent in a lot of cases. And corporate power has grown exponentially. So there's a big, big problem. When unions are strong, the economy is strong. When unions are weak, then it looks then a lot of this money, a lot of this power flows to the CEOs and the corporate executives. Now, I don't have a problem with people who are CEOs. I don't have a problem with executives. But what I do have a problem is a disparity of power in the workplace. The workers should also have power. They should be able to get together and negotiate for fairer wages, an honest day's wage for an honest day's work. Knowing how CEOs and companies are, they're going to want to cut costs as much as they can so that more money ends up in their pocket. That's not a problem, but they should have a balancing force out there to make sure that the workers are fairly compensated as well. I want to make sure that everybody does well in the workplace, the bosses and the workers. That should be a goal, and that is one of the goals of having unions. So a strong economy has to include labor rights. Workers have to have a voice in the workplace. And unfortunately, that voice has been ignored and stifled by people belonging to both parties. And now they realize it, and finally they're actually going to do something about it. This is a big deal. Labor is actually finally planning a comeback in a big way. So hopefully they can get this this Labor Party off the ground, and we'll see what happens. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.